Welcome to the Next Step Recovery podcast. We call this More Than Recovery because addiction is so much more than just getting clean from our addictions, our strongholds. It's really finding our purpose in life, and that's what we're here for each and every day. I like to say that we have three purposes here at the Next Step Recovery podcast. The first purpose is to encourage people, to encourage those who are struggling in their addiction or just in life. It doesn't have to be an addiction. It could be anything. So we want to encourage you. Number two, we want to educate you. We want to help you help other people. We want to help you help others. And then finally, we want to expand our reach. We want to expand our impact. We want to expand our partners. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to a great show. All right, hey, welcome back to the Next Step More Than Recovery podcast. We are so glad you're with us today. I got my good friend, David Blalock. Say hi, David.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
Good. David is, we were kidding earlier. We said that our today's sponsor would be Bucky Holland Heating and Air. That's who David works for. He's got his shirt on today. And so he's representing well. So David, I'm so glad that you, and afterwards, after we get done with David today, we have a special treat that we're going to talk to his wife, Rachel. And that is going to be a great conversation. So after you listen and watch this podcast and then share it with your friends and like it and all those good things, right? Then we're going to talk to Rachel, and you need to stick around for that one as well. So that'll be on the next episode. But David is a graduate of Next Step, graduated in 2021, I believe, or 22.
2020.
You graduated in 2020?
No, it was 21.
Yeah.
It was 21.
I remember you came in August, I think, August of 2020 in the middle of COVID, and graduated in 2021. And boy, your life is different today than it was when you showed up to Next Step 4 years ago, right?
Yep.
And before we started the podcast, I went through a few questions with David, kind of preparing him a little bit. I probably could have done a better job. But I asked him, I said, I got a few things I want to talk to you about, David. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was your background a little bit. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on your background because I really want to focus on where you are today, right?
Yes.
But I'm going to summarize here a little bit for everybody. David comes from what most of us would call a pretty rough background, right? How old are you now?
I'm 41.
41. So 41, and your whole life prior to where you are now has been defined. How would you define your childhood?
I lived in the epidemic in the 80s when cocaine was a bad ordeal. So my childhood was pretty much in a cocaine infested environment.
Is that you? Is that your family?
That was my mother and father.
And your mom and dad. So your childhood environment was one of drugs, getting high.
From the start.
Running the streets.
That's all I knew. That's what I was taught.
Okay. So you would define your childhood pretty much as do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And my parents were right there with me.
And it went straight to a bad place the whole way.
Yeah. So when did you end up, at what age did you end up with the law, trouble with the law?
As soon as I turned 18, I was in trouble.
Okay.
I was in trouble before that.
Right.
But when I turned 18, they started incarcerating me.
Okay.
And it evolved into it was a cycle then.
Right. So a cycle of in and out of jail, in and out of prison. Eventually, you end up at what age did you end up in prison first time?
I went in 2008.
Okay.
And I didn't come back until 18.
So 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years. Was that federal time, state time?
It was all maximum security, and it was state and federal.
State and federal, maximum security prison. Gangs,
affiliated, yes,
involved in the gang life,
and they use all that against you when you're in the system. Everything you've ever done, so it pointed me really high.
Yeah, wow. So for 10 years you're in that system of jail, prison, drugs in the prison, gangs in the prison, violence in the prisons, and that's so from the time you're a child all the way up through those later teen years into your 20s, 30s. That's all you
prison. Yeah.
That's all you knew. Yeah.
And it become a lifestyle.
Yeah. But you still made a few choices in prison though.
Yeah.
That were good.
I look back at it now and see that God was actually in control, even though I didn't know him. So one day it was just like get a GED or go to college or read these books. And I actually am in the field that I studied in prison now. It was HVAC. So
Yeah. And that's what you're doing now, HVA, because we were talking earlier about how to get off today. And he was like, hey, as long as I'm making them money, they let me have some flexibility.
And, you're in prison a long time. You still got a pretty smile sometimes.
Yeah. Nobody knocked your teeth out or anything like that. So
you make a lot of money if you smile right.
Yeah. Hey, that's great advice. Yeah. Just put a smile on it goes a long ways. So, but I know you and I have had a lot of conversations over the years, David, over the last 4 years. And I would always, we all struggle. We all struggle. So David is by no means perfect, right? You're not,
sir.
You still struggle.
I do.
You still have things that come to you because it's what you grew up with, but things have changed for you over the last several years, I would say. You're a different person today than you were yesterday, and going to be a different person tomorrow than you are today. And so with that, David, we're looking at briefly just looking at your background, right? You grew up in a home of drugs and craziness that was not resisted by your parents, but encouraged by those around you that brought you up, and then prison. Right. And then in 2020, I'll never forget the first time I saw you when you came into the program there at Next Step. It was you, like any guy that comes in the Next Step, the first day or two, you're kind of lost.
Yeah.
It's new.
Out of everywhere I ever been, I think I was more scared pulling up the Next Step than I was the prisons.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't know what to expect. And I was very nervous. It was a whole new way of life.
Right. God was a whole new way of life.
Absolutely. I didn't have no religion growing up. So actually this month is my spiritual birthday, April 24th of 19. I surrendered to God.
Wow.
I asked him to come in my life in a jail cell. And
Yeah.
he opened up the door to your facility, Next Step.
Yeah.
And that's where I was mandated to go to. And at that point forward, everything started falling into place.
God was working it, wasn't he?
He still is.
Yeah. Amen.
Hey.
That's good. So at your time at Next Step, so you had a year, you were there, obviously you got there August of 2020. It's a minimum of a year-long program. Your first 6 months in the program are just classroom time, mentorship time.
We like to call it Bible boot camp.
Bible boot camp. Yeah. Our pastor says you guys probably get more Bible in 1 year than most seminary students get in 4 years at Bible school. So you get a lot. And so in that time, you're having to deal with David.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, so during that time at Next Step, that year, what's going on in your life? What's going on in your mind?
It was against everything I ever knew. When you have a rough childhood like that, predominantly there's a high percentage that you'll be taught to rebel against that.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what was going through my mind the first month or two was failure. Am I going to be good enough? I have no idea what I'm thinking or talking. I don't know what's said in the Bible. I was actually a baby in Christ, and it literally means a baby. You needed a mom, a father to teach you.
Right. So you're coming in there and you get this fire hose full of new information, right?
And rules.
And rules, right? Right. And it's not like, prison has rules.
Right.
But it's different.
Absolutely.
It's different. The rules in prison, sometimes the guards are helping you break those rules. And
everything that you think can go on wrong happens in there.
Yeah.
This was the first place I'd ever seen that things was going for the right reason.
Okay.
And that's where it was struggling, just learning everything that was taught there by you and Chris. And it was a different set of rules. These was rules to keep you out of there, out of prison.
Right.
So that's what was clicking in my mind. This is to help me. So let's go with it.
Yeah. And one of the things, especially guys coming the Next Step out of jail, out of prison, we have a word at Next Step called accountability. And a lot of guys don't like that word because in jail and in prison, it's about every man for himself, and it's about survival.
Well, unless you're gang affiliated, but accountability can get you killed in there.
Right.
So, but that's what the devil wants to do is take away any rules that might guide you into somewhere positive. So, learning accountability, I'm held accountable every day now. And that's one of the main things that keeps me right.
You have a wife who holds you accountable, don't you?
She's strict.
She's laughing in the background. Yeah. So a lot of times, I just dealt with this last week with some of the guys. They come in there with this, I ain't no snitch. That's a big one. No, I ain't no snitch. And I said, there's a big difference between snitching and holding somebody accountable. I don't like somebody who's a tattletale either, right? But there is a difference between holding your brother accountable for what he's doing, because you want to see him succeed. If you want to succeed and you want to see your brother succeed, then you got to go to that guy and say, hey, what we're doing here, what we're about to do, what we're about to say, the action we're about to take, we shouldn't be doing.
I think it's spoken very clearly about you are what you hang around.
Yeah.
You got it. Most people today, even me, was taught in a way where that's bad. So I struggled with that too at Next Step, the snitching part. But really, if you're not doing nothing wrong, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
Right. That's true. If one of my comments to the guys, a lot of times, if you're not concerned about the rules, if you're not breaking the rules. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to always get away with something, you're always concerned about the rules. You're Definitely. Always concerned about the rules. And I hate rules personally, but we know that if we don't have them,
it's wide open.
Mm-hmm. And you lived a life early in your life that was devoid of rules. Growing up,
I did not even consider a rule until I got the Next Step.
Yeah.
I think I just got really tired of living the way I was living.
And you have to. I heard somebody say today, they said the pain has to become so great that the acid of your pain starts to eat away at these things that you're holding on to that are harming you, that you finally say, I can't do this anymore. That pain becomes so great, greater than the reward of the misbehavior, if you will, or the getting high or whatever it is that we're doing.
That, and it's just fear.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to admit that they're scared.
Yeah.
Change is scary. Every day I learn something new now. I would probably consider myself a toddler, now. So I'm walking and talking, but it's definitely different.
So let's talk about that for a minute. The fear of change. Mm-hmm. Change, the older you get, the harder it is to change. And it is, even though what I may be doing is harming me, even though what I may be doing causes me to lose my job, my family, my home, my sanity, my mental health state, even though the actions I'm taking, the drugs I'm using, the people I'm hanging around are causing me to not succeed, I still hold on to it because of the fear of something different.
You always want to have a backup plan, and I still fear, little things now because it ain't so wide anymore, but you can't get me to do anything wrong. You have to make your mind up as a man and an individual that I'm through and I'm going to change.
Great point. You have to make your mind up. So if you're going to beat the addiction, if you're going to beat the lifestyle, it starts first with, it doesn't start with a program. Mm-mm. And I don't, this is going to sound wrong. And I want you to hear me out here. It really doesn't start with God. It starts with a decision in your mind that I'm done.
And you just got to be tired. When you've been, when you go where I've come from, it's very easy to make that decision. Yeah. I'm through. I'm done. I'm not going back.
And now God can step in and strengthen you.
And he did.
Yeah. Now when God's waiting for me to make a decision, God's waiting for me to make a decision that says, I'm through. I'm done. I need a change. Something's got to be different. And then God can step in and say, now I got something to work with.
Sometimes we come from a world we don't want to listen to nothing. But when you make your mind up and see that you're just, life is unmanageable, you need somebody else. When you come to a facility like Next Step, you start learning and you start listening and you start and then you learn that scriptures are swords. That's your two-edged sword. And you got to be just open-minded and ready to do it. And then the rest will come. When you get the inside right, the outside will fall into place.
Right. So what's your focus today? What's David Blalock's focus? What's his, I know you're married, you got a family, you're in church, you're in your word, you're working hard. I mean, they love you at your job. You got their shirt on here today, so you're representing them well.
I'm going back to work at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
My thing today is being a better Christian father, husband, and a man.
Because we're talking to your wife afterwards, so she's going to let us know that.
I wanted her to hear that, so I said it. But discipline and undisciplined is the thing that I'm working on right now. I like to stay disciplined every day, and Psalms 23 states, "There's a table prepared for me with anointed oil and blessings a cup. And in front of my enemies, my day is prepared." So I think about that every day when I come off the exit of Hartley Bridge, you know, and we start our day. Yeah.
Wow. So if you could say one thing, David, if you could tell somebody out there struggling in their addiction, they're struggling in and out of prison, in and out of jail, they can't keep it together. What's your advice to them?
My advice is to stand up and be a man. Start putting guardrails and gates up in your life around things, and make a decision that your life cannot be handled on your own. Accept responsibility, seek help, get a faith-based program like Next Step, and just listen to other men, because our definition of men is wrong. We don't even know how to be a man, but it plainly states in the Bible what to do to be a man, and that's seeking God, following God's, bringing glory to Him, and just being the best you can be every day by the way that book says. And listen to your peers, man, that does right, because you're going to be what you hang around.
Yeah.
You got to be disciplined.
That's right.
Everything, money, way you eat, way you work out, way you study, the way you put off an image of who you are. You want to make the best of it. So if you're not doing it right and it's been a recycle and you can't get out of it, you got to ask God, what can it hurt?
Yeah. What can it hurt?
Stop it.
That's right. So,
stop it.
Just stop it. Billionaires hang out with billionaires.
Yes, sir.
Politicians, I hate to use that word, politicians hang out with politicians. Billionaires hang out with billionaires, and drug addicts hang out with drug addicts.
Absolutely. And you get into a church, I mean, we say we don't want to be a part of that life, or we don't even know what we're talking about, because the love demonstrated by the men at Next Step and the facilitators and the Makata Baptist team, and just that's my family. I'm still there today. I don't miss church service, not because of my wife, even though she'll whoop me if I don't show up, but I do it out of the goodness of my heart because it's positive.
Right.
It teaches me positive things. It gives me a positive outlook on life, and they love each other. No matter what I do, I have a family now, and God simply just took me from my family and put me with another family. That's the main change. That's good. I feel like I can be the little boy that I was all my life. I just wasn't able to.
Yeah. Wow. David, thank you so much, man. And I know that it taking your time out of today and just your story, and there's so much more to tell, and I may have you back.
That's fine.
I may have you back another time, and we continue on, because there's so much more to. I'll never forget, I went to court with David one day, and he said, "Man, I'm never coming to the courtroom from this side." And he always came in shackles.
Yeah, that thing's so old. I've been there since it was built, and I still couldn't get out of it. I didn't get out of it until you went with me. So,
and I was impressed. When you walked in, that people knew you, and they loved you, even though you've been in so much trouble.
And I'd been gone for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But some of them was in shackles, and they was in them shackles when I left.
Yeah.
I come back 15 years later, you're still in them.
Nothing's changed.
Because they don't have God.
Nothing changes until something changes.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Well, good. David, thank you again. Thank you for listening today to our More Than Recovery podcast. If you have any questions, please contact us through our website at www.nextstepmen.org. It should be on the screen for you. Please subscribe, share, and this podcast, this video, the audio as well. We want to spread the story of David Blalock as much as we can, because it will encourage somebody, and it could help somebody who feels helpless. Have a great day.